people are talking about recession fears, and economists are now trying to predict exactly what the fall and what the recovery could look like. I understand that not all cases are we talking about a recovery. You may just be talking about a slowdown with a recovery thereafter. But this is the ABCDarian, as they say, of economic downturns. Let us start with what people think is most likely, the V-shaped recovery. Now, the V-shaped, you can see there's the nice V, and that, for that one, it's in the 1990s. It's a real estate boom and bust. It's also part dot-com boom and bust. And there you have it. The IMF believes, in this case, a V-shape is still highly possible. But more likely, or some would suggest, it is the L-shaped, no, sorry, it's the U-shaped, I beg your pardon. And here is your U. It's a big U. It's an entirety. And that's in the 1975 with the energy crisis. Here you have that gradual fall down at the bottom and straight out the other side. But it's a long period in the middle, looking more likely. There's the possibility of the W shape. Now, the W shape is a double whammy. You get an example of that in the 1980s. It's extremely volatile, and you see exactly how the whole thing goes. You've got to look at it in these terms over here. Your W-shaped recovery. Very painful for investors. But the worst of all is the L-shaped recession. This is the nightmare scenario. The example here you've got of Greece. You go down and you stay down. Nobody is predicting this. Kevin Hassett, who, of course, is the former top advisor, economic advisor, told me this crisis has a lot more to go before deciding what sort of recovery there'll be.
You know, I think that right now markets are worried, as they were with SARS, that this is going to be a much bigger deal and much more widely spread than the professionals think is the base case right now. But if you go back and look at the SARS episode, and granted there were a lot of other things going on in the economy at that time, and then run it forward from when we sort of recognized it was there and compare it to the timeline for this, then equity markets would have about 10% more to go down.
Markets would have 10% more to go down, he just said. That's from the other day. So we're taking another couple % off here. What's the latest thinking as seen from you? Rana's with me. Rana Foroohar is the CNN's global economic analyst and associate editor at the Financial Times.
I think we're going to continue to see a dip, but the Fed is going to step in and act at some point, and then you're going to see a rally off the back of that. But I think we're really not going to know where we are, and I love your graphics there, L, W, U, all of this until this summer, because I think in the summer, you're going to see where coronavirus is. You're going to have a better sense of underlying corporate earnings, and you're also going to get more information on the political situation in the U.S., which, of course, the markets were already pricing in before the virus.
But you've got the slowdown. China seems to be recovering, not recovering. China seems to have arrested its fall to somewhat, as we watch to see how other countries handle it. What's your biggest fear here?
You know, my biggest fear, but it's also in some ways the biggest opportunity, is decoupling. I have said in a couple of columns in recent weeks that I think coronavirus is going to be that tailwind that speeds up decoupling. I think that you're going to see both the U.S. and China building totally separate tech ecosystems. I think Europe is going to be very trickily stuck in the middle between those two. Now, this could get contentious. This could create a lot more cost for companies because you look, a lot of production has been switched to places like Vietnam, Mexico, but those countries can only take a certain amount. They can't pick up all the slack from China. So at some point, companies have to think, are we going to build new factories? Are we going to train new people? That's cost at a time when margins, we're already being told by Goldman Sachs, no profits this year.
Two follow-ons, though, from that particular thought. Is anybody, as far best you know, looking at global recession?
Oh, yeah. People are talking about it. It's impossible to know right now because we don't know how...
But we're a long way from that at the moment.
We're a long way from that. But you know, Richard, and I keep coming... I know I've always been a pessimist, and you ding the bell on me, but don't get too close. Yeah. But really, the markets have been looking for a reason to correct. You know, we've known this is coming. The question now is how much of the underlying Main Street recovery, and I'll put it in quotation marks, has been linked to what the market is doing. And I think quite a lot. And Goldman's been saying that for a long time, that as much as 30% of growth could actually be really about where the market is. And I think if you start to see that, you know, W or even an L-shaped situation, you may be in for some trouble.
Okay, but so the recession aspect is still...
That's still a question mark.
Right, but slower growth is not.
slower growth is not, and most people are predicting that at this stage.
But Goldman, you saw today,
Yeah.
zero earnings growth.
Yeah.
Therefore, zero earnings growth. If we accept, as traditionalists like yourself do, that a share price is a factor of a future earnings stream,
Yeah.
those share price cannot be supported by no growth.
Right, and then the question is, you know, what else is happening in the world? What else is happening in companies that they have to worry about? You know, labor costs were rising before this. They've been rising in China. I think that decoupling is going to create a lot of unexpected costs. I think that we may be in something that feels quite a lot like a recession by the fall, which will be interesting politically.
That's for another day.
Don't ring that bell.
I shall let you do it. Probably, maybe. Next time. She fell for it.
Such a cheat.
Charlie Brown.
My God, has he done that
Peanuts.
before?
She fell for it again.
I'll get him someday.
That's what Lucy says. Good to see you.